Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley, and we hope to be here with you for 2 hours this evening from 8 until 10 p.m. for 2 hours of scintillating talk radio, an opportunity for us to engage one with each other, to share views and opinions. And this is very much a show where every shade of public opinion is welcomed. You're invited to call in to share your views and opinions. Our only standard for the show is that we maintain a respectable discourse. We say all the time that we are free to disagree, but we are not free to be disagreeable. And so for those out there who might anticipate calling in when the phones are open, we ask that you conduct yourself in a manner that brings honor to your name, honor to the show, honor to the radio station that hosts us, VON Radio, the voice of Nevis, and also, of course, honor to us as a Nevision people. So, we set the standard very high here at Vaughan Radio. Weber Herbert and the team have over the years said only the best will do. And that is what we are seeking to maintain at all times. We have been on the air now for over 2 decades, bringing you every single Wednesday evening a show that we hope is memorable, a show that we hope is thought-provoking, a show that we hope brings value and adds value to Nevis and the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis, the wider Caribbean, and indeed the world. Good evening to all of those here in Nevis, those in St. Kitts, those across the Caribbean Sea. Good evening to our friends and family in the United States, Canada, and the United Kingdom in particular. But wherever you are, if you're in Taiwan listening, good evening to you. Welcome to this edition of On the Mark. Let me start off with a few announcements. I want to make a plug here tonight for Spider's annual fish fry. Spider's annual fish fry. I was there last year in Georgia. Really an extraordinary event. And they've asked me to tell you that the event is happening on Saturday, September 5th. That's a Labor Day weekend. It starts at 2 p.m. Tickets are only $30. The music by DJ Glembo out of Florida. How You Mean and more. Day of Fish Fry, $35. 30 tickets in advance, but on the day it is $35. Odyssey Band from Nevis will be there. And on the menu they have fried fish, jerk pork, jerk chicken, Johnny cakes. They have everything that you can conceive. Let me tell you, Spider and Inika, they do an amazing job. The entire family does an amazing job. They have it in a beautiful location. It's at 334 Harper Drive, Harper Drive, and that's in Stockbridge, Georgia, 30281. If you want more information, please call 646-403-5925 or 404-960-2053. So, once again, Spider's annual fish fry, Spider and Inika invite you to their home. It's on Saturday, September 5th, 2026. It's the start of the Labor Day weekend. It starts at 2 p.m. Tickets are $30 in advance, $35 at the door. DJ Glenbo will be there out of Florida. How You Mean and more. Odyssey Band will be there out of Nevis. And they have lots on the menu. 334 Harper Drive, Stockbridge, Georgia, 30281. For more information, call 646-403-5925 or 404-960-2053. And that's a big event going down right there in Georgia. I have some other announcements to make before I get into the show, and that is also in Georgia, that the St. Kitts and Nevis Association of Georgia will be hosting the Independence Gala on September 12th. That will be Saturday, September 12th from 7 p.m. until 12 a.m. The event will be at Classique, 4823 Rockbridge Road, Stone Mountain, Georgia. Stone Mountain, Georgia, 30083. Classique, 4823 Rockbridge Road, Stone Mountain, Georgia, 30083. And they have asked me, Mark Brantley, to be the featured speaker. So I shall be there in my capacity as Premier of Nevis to deliver some remarks on the occasion of this Independence Gala. Of course, St. Kitts and Nevis celebrates its independence on the 19th of September, and this gala is happening on the 12th of September, Saturday, 12th September, in Georgia, at Classique, 4823 Rockbridge Road, Stone Mountain, Georgia, 30083. The event starts at 7 p.m. and ends at 12 a.m. You can check them out on Instagram, St. Kitts and Nevis Association of Georgia. And we look forward to being there with them and to having a wonderful time, bringing a message, we hope, of hope, bringing a message that bridges our people in the diaspora and our people at home. While I'm in a celebratory mood, Let me, on behalf of my dear friend Diana Jeffers, express congratulations to her daughter, Lauren Liebert. Lauren Liebert has just graduated with a Master of Business Administration from the Florida Institute of Technology in Melbourne, Florida. Lauren, if you're listening, congratulations. From us here at Vaughn Radio, from us here On The Mark, but also from your mom, Diana. She's proud as punch that you have done so well, and we are truly, truly happy for you, Lauren. You now have your master's, your MBA. We expect that you're going to go on to do great things, and we wish you all the very best. To everybody else who's graduating, I know yesterday and today people are getting their CXC results. Yesterday we did a walkthrough in Hamilton, and as we walked through, one mom told us how proud she was of her daughter, who has secured 7 ones out of the subjects that she did, and she adds those to the 2 ones that she had before. So great results, great examination results for many. I say congratulations to all of the young people who have worked hard, to their families who have supported them, to their teachers who have toiled with them, and of course to those who may not have passed many subjects. That's okay too. Please keep trying. Not everybody is necessarily academically inclined. Many people are more technically inclined. They work with their hands. They have an eye for construction. They have an eye for plumbing and carpentry and the like. They take up the trades. And I will tell you, in today's world, those people make even more money than those with the 15 and 20 subjects. So whatever your pathway in life is, embrace it, and I pray that you will do well. Now, those of you looking at me realize that I'm decked out in Nevis gear. I have my Nevis cap on. I have my Nevis shirt on. Nevis, this is the new logo. And the reason I'm wearing this is because I want to assist in promoting and encouraging Nevisians and others to purchase some of this brand new merchandise. Nevis went through a rebranding exercise some time ago. I think it was just over a year ago, where we relaunched Nevis to the world. And as part of that, we are engaging in offering various products. We have towels, we have tote bags, we have mugs, we have all kinds of products. Now, if you want to see some of the products and purchase some of the products, and you happen to be on island, you can go to the Nevis Tourism Authority building. They're right there in the very heart of Charlestown, next to the bust of Sir Simeon Daniel. That building that's there, you can go there downstairs, and the young ladies there will take very good care of you and ensure that you get all your gear. But if you're not a Nevis, or even if you're a Nevis but you prefer to shop online, as many people do, then you can go and shop nevisnaturally.com. Let me just make sure I have that correct. It's shop, S-H-O-P, nevisnaturally.com. I want to just be sure that I'm giving you accurate information, and that I expect, of course, that persons will take advantage of the opportunity to get some gear, advantage of the opportunity to get decked out in Nevis gear. So when you go out, you rock Nevis. You're going to Spider's Barbecue, you're going to Nev DC's brunch, you rock Nevis. And I'm giving you the website now so that you have it to hand. It is shop, S-H-O-P, Nevis, N-I-V-S obviously, naturally, N-A-T-U-R-A-L-L-Y.com. So shop nevisnaturally.com, www.shopnevisnaturally.com, and there is a wide variety of products there. So I'm wearing some tonight. You've seen this before, of course, because I've been on with my t-shirt before, but I'm also wearing my cap, and as I said, they have lots of stuff. They have beautiful summer dresses, they have shirts, they have all kinds of things for men and women. And as I said, mugs. Imagine being at the beach and having a beautiful Nevis blanket. I know this year lots of friends are in Martha's Vineyard, and I'm hopeful that some of them will have Nevis tote bags and Nevis blankets as they go to Inkwell Beach and the areas there that famous people hang out at. I'm not there because I'm not famous. The famous people who are there, they know who they are. I want to send a shout out to them. I want to send a shout out especially to my friend Candy Carter. If she's listening, Candy, I know you're having fun in Martha's Vineyard. Good evening to you and to all the other folks there. So I'm hopeful that persons will take advantage of the opportunity to get something that says Nevis. Get a cap, get a shirt, get a t-shirt, get a mug, get something that says Nevis. Help us to promote this island. Show your love and your patriotism. But we have some amazing gear. This shirt is incredibly comfortable. The material is breathable. I do believe that the merchandise quality is exceptional. So go to the shop here in town at the Nevis Tourism Authority, or go online to www.shopnevisnaturally.com. Good. Let us move on now to discuss a few things that have been happening on the island. Now that I'm finished with my various plugs and talking and telling you what I think about various things, I'm now going to go on to discuss some matters that have been happening here in Nevis. And let me start with the strides that we have been making in the field of healthcare. We would have had, but you know something, let me start someplace else. Forgive me. Before I go to the important area of healthcare, let me express my gratitude. We were in church ground recently, and we were very well received in church ground. We then went as a party, that is a CCM party. We went to Cleggott and Chickenstone. We were very warmly received in Cleggott and Chickenstone. We then would have gone just yesterday to Hamilton, and we were very warmly received in Hamilton. I want to really express gratitude to the people who have received us into their homes, the people who have welcomed us, and the conversation that we have had, the suggestions that we have had, the recommendations that we have had, the prayers that have been said for us. I want in particular to single out Mrs. Ward, who, when we visited Cleggott and Chickenstone, prayed a mighty prayer for us, for me personally, as the leader of this island, but also for the entire team. I want to thank you, Mrs. Ward, if you're listening. Thank you, and God bless you. We were touched by your gesture, and we pray and hope that God continues to be blessing you, continues to keep you, continues to maintain you in good health and good spirits and in sound mind. And she was phenomenal. She spoke to us. And for those of you who are looking to buy seasoning or looking to buy some dry goods of some kind, she has a wide variety of seasoning, food seasoning that is. And we encourage you to go and patronize and shop with her there. She's right there as you're just about to head there, the road that will ultimately take you to what we call ball pasture. You're in that general vicinity, and we urge you to go and to really, patronize and support Mrs. Ward. She has a little shop there, and she does quite well. So when you turn up, as if you're going up to the Eva Wilkin Gallery in that area, and then you make a shop right, it's a dead end, it goes down to some homes there. She's right there. And so, Mrs. Ward, if you're listening, God bless you. Thank you for receiving us, and thank you for that mighty prayer. We also, of course, would have gone to the Hamilton area. And I want to just say to residents that when we are in an area, dependent sometimes on the level of conversation, the level of engagement, sometimes we spend a little longer in a particular home or with a particular constituent. Some people have personal and other concerns which are of personal nature, or concerns for the community or for the island more generally. And I just want to say that we don't always get to everyone in the neighborhood. What we're trying to do with this, what we're calling a listening tour, is we're going from community to community, village to village, to try and just talk to our people, to hear from them. Many people have expressed a reluctance to come to our offices, and so we said, fine. During the afternoons, a few times each week, we will go out and we'll go to a different community. And in so doing, we give people an opportunity to engage with us in those communities. So we're sitting on porches, we're on your landing, on your veranda, we are in your home sometimes, we're in your yard, we're at your gate. We're having a conversation with you. We ask people to avail themselves of that opportunity. And we really don't matter, it doesn't matter to us who you support. Some people who we speak to, we know are very strong supporters of the opposition. That is of no moment to us, because once you've elected a government, in a democracy like Nevis, the government is the government for everyone. And so when we come, yes, as the CCM party, but we are the party currently in government. And so we come to hear from you, because based on your feedback, we can then go back, implement, tweak, have the conversations in cabinet as to what we will do, fix problems. Oftentimes we go and people are able to point out simple things to us that need to be addressed. And so we are coming to your community. And if we don't get to your home, please don't be too upset with us. We have committed to come back time and time again. We've started this process, and we're not going to stop. One of the things we know that people have been saying is, oh, we only see our politicians during election cycle or during election time. Well, guess what? There's no election happening. No election has been announced. No election is due in the country, so far as I'm aware, until next year summer. And so we are a year away from a federal election. Of course, that is a matter for Prime Minister Drew. He is the man who holds the golden ticket in relation to that. He's the one who holds the date. And no election in Nevis is due. That lies within the purview of the Premier of Nevis, but none is due until April or so of 2028. I will remind people that we are now in August of 2026. So we have at least a year to go before federal election is due. We have at least a year and, let me see, by my math, to April 2028, that looks like a year and 8 months before a local election is due. So there's no election. We are simply using this opportunity to engage. And let me tell you, there's an added benefit because we are walking so much. Some of us are far more healthy than we were when this process started. So yes, we're getting our steps in. We're getting some good conversations. We're engaging with people. And as I said, the reception has been overwhelming. So thank you to the people of Hamilton. They were very kind to us. They received us. And we are grateful for that. And we keep adding to our team. If you see from time to time, you'll see, of course, familiar faces like those who are in cabinet. You'll also see familiar faces of those who are in the party, candidates and the like. But you see also some young faces. Some young people have been coming out with us, and we're truly grateful to them. We have youngsters now like Fayon Jones, who has joined the team, and he's out there with us. I was very happy that my own daughter, Gabriella Brantley, she joined the team. She's been out there with us. We have other young people who are there who really add value and add the ability to engage. And so the teams vary from village to village, but we have large teams. So even sometimes some folks can't make it, although we encourage everybody to come out. You would find that the teams tend to be quite large as we go around. And so we are really trying to engage with you. We are inviting you to engage with us, to share your concerns. And for those of you who want a private conversation, that's also possible. You take the number, you call, or you pull one of us aside, whoever you want to speak to. So thank you again, Hamilton. Thank you, Church Ground. Thank you, Clegot. Thank you, Chickenstone. We will continue. And of course, those are the recent engagements we've had, but we've also been to Jessop's. We've also been up to Rollins. We've also been just generally around the community. We've been in Craddock Road. We've been over in the country area in Newcastle, up Shaw's Road. We've done quite a bit of walking already, and we're going to be doing more. Now we have a roster that's out, and so we'll be coming. We should have been coming to Brown Hill tomorrow. But I've asked the team to forgive me because tomorrow is my wedding anniversary. Yes, tomorrow I will be married by my tally for 32 years. Praise be to God. I thank my wife for putting up with me for all this time. But 32 years tomorrow, and I think that as a result, I will not be able to be on the road tomorrow. So we are rearranging some matters, but certainly our next stops will be Brown Hill and Westbury. And so we may just switch up that order. I've asked the team to look at that. But certainly, community after community, please look out for us. We shall be coming. Now, let me move now to some other matters. And today we had the cabinet, and I was quite happy at the cabinet to get the report from our Minister of Health, the Honorable Janelle Nisbet, on the dialysis unit. And to now report to you that the dialysis unit construction is nearing completion. We have ordered all that is necessary, I'm told. We have water tanks and generators en route. We have 4 800-gallon water tanks. Of course, this is the advice that we've had, and so we are following the advice very scrupulously. 4 800-gallon water tanks that, I'm told, will guarantee 72 hours of water on site. That was the recommendation that came from the experts who are consulting on this process. We have the generator, as I've said, for electricity backup. because we can't have power go out. We can't have any risk of that if persons need dialysis. We have wheelchair access that is being put in. We also have ambulance access that is being put in. And then I'm told that we are working with a deadline of the end of September to have all of this done. UPS, HVAC, what is this now? My handwriting is sometimes difficult. I think this is a cart of some kind. These are all going to be due in September, arriving in September, that's it. In terms of personnel, 3 dialysis nurses whom we recruited, they should be here next week. And the nurse manager for the unit is already on board and already working with us. The nephrologist relationship, we're still working that out. St. Kitts has 2, and we're seeking a memorandum of understanding where we can access those as needed, of course, while we work on getting our own nephrologist here to Nevis. So in terms of the construction itself, that is nearing completion. In terms of the dialysis machines, those are already here. In terms of the equipment, the generator, the air filtration systems, the crash carts, various equipment, HVAC, that's the air conditioning system, all of that is being sorted out and being put in. We have pieces of equipment that have been ordered that we expect to be here shortly. And in terms of personnel, 3 nurses should be here next week, and the nurse manager has already been recruited, and we expect to share a nephrologist from St. Kitts. Just so people know, we share expertise with St. Kitts in health all the time. A psychiatrist, for example, we share, and so we expect to do that, and that is being worked on. I'm told that those at the Ministry of Health are working quite assiduously to get that. The point of all this is really to say to the people of Nevis that we will have dialysis services being offered in Nevis fairly soon. And this has been made possible because when we negotiated with the proposed developers of the Destiny project, they asked what they could do for Nevis, and we said that we would like them to donate a dialysis center. And so they are paying for the construction of the center, they're paying for the equipment for the center, they're paying for the personnel, that is the staff, and the running costs for a period of 2 years. And we thought that it was an excellent negotiation for us. At the end of the day, it means that we could have accelerated our provision of this critical service, which we know many have been clamoring for some time. We did not have at the time a financial pathway for the capital that is expected to be invested and of course for the running costs. This allows us to offer the service now and have a period of 2 years to come up with a financing mechanism to continue to pay for it. And so I'm very happy when I get these updates because it tells me that that project is very well on the way, and we expect that it should be completed in short order for the benefit of the people of Nevis. Of course, we prefer if people do not need renal care, if people do not need end-stage renal care, if people do not need dialysis. And we are told that by making some lifestyle choices early in life, we can delay or even stop the need for this end-stage kidney treatment. The health authorities continue to try to educate us. They continue to say, stop the drinking of excessive alcohol. They continue to say we should exercise, even moderate exercise. It's important. And they continue to tell us to watch what we eat. What we put into our mouths has a great impact on our health. I know that our people like certain foods. We like our fried fish. We like our cook-up. I like them too. We like certain foods that, if not consumed in moderation, can lead to obesity, can lead to diabetes, can lead ultimately to hypertension, can lead to kidney failure. Kidney disease and kidney failure. It is kidney failure that ultimately results in the need for dialysis. Now, I'm not trying to oversimplify because I understand that there are other reasons, other factors that can contribute. There are genetic factors, no doubt. But the science suggests that the leading causes of kidney failure are non-communicable diseases like hypertension and diabetes. And so, please, I encourage our people, one, to know their status, get checked, and two, to do the lifestyle changes that could assist in either delaying or, we hope, even avoiding some of these diseases. And so, your health is in your hands. Please, I beseech you, take control of it. Too often, I see situations where persons present with end-stage difficulties. Difficulties that could have been diagnosed much earlier and much easier. Too many of us continue to say we're scared of doctors. I don't want to go to the doctor. Every time I go to the doctor, he finds something wrong. That's what he's there for. That's what she's there for. I encourage our people to go, get your checkups. Too many men are being diagnosed with prostate cancer. When you ask, well, why are you getting prostate cancer? They say, oh, I don't like the test. The test involves what they call a digital rectal exam, where the doctor takes his or her finger, inserts it into your bottom, and checks for the prostate. A lot of men feel that they don't want that to be done to them, and so they refuse to go. That is usually followed by a PSA, they say, which is a blood test, and those two, the rectal digital exam and the PSA together, can give a very good early indication of whether you have any difficulties with your prostate. The science shows that in most developed countries, prostate cancer is really nominal, minimal. Why? Because if caught early, it is one of the cancers that you can get rid of very early. Breast cancer affects both men and women, but mostly women, and we have introduced mammography services at the hospital here, brand new equipment. We had a drive where we offered free mammograms to our women. We continue to offer that as an initiative of the Ministry of Health whenever there's Breast Cancer Week, and we are urging our people, just take advantage of these opportunities. If you know what is wrong and you find out what is wrong early, there are much higher chances that you can resolve what is wrong. If you continue to rely on our old cultural mores of saying, oh, I have a pain in my knee, it must be gas. I have a pain in my back, in my head, I didn't eat yesterday, it must be gas. Everything is gas. When in fact your body is sending out a signal that something is wrong. So please, I always commend the work of the Health Promotion Unit. They do excellent work. They're going around, they're offering their services, and there's so many tools that they have available to them. Do you know, for example, that you can, through the Health Promotion Unit, get an HIV test done in a matter of minutes? Yes, that technology is available right here in Nevis. They're doing it instantly on the spot. You go in, you speak to them, and you can get tested right there on the spot for things like HIV. In the past, you would have to wait 14 days, whatever period of time. We are now doing those tests immediately. Those are the types of initiatives that we have made, perhaps not talked enough about, but nevertheless exist for the benefit of our people. And so we encourage you, please, take control of your health. Whilst the government is now partnering with Destiny to create this dialysis center, we would prefer if nobody has to use it. And that is my fervent prayer, if nobody has to use it. So we're preparing for the worst, but we keep praying for the best. And we keep urging our people to do the things to take control of their health so that they don't require some of these services. For those who are already in that situation, we are investing so that they have an easier opportunity to access that service right here on the island of Nevis. Now, just last week, I was advised that the dialysis center in St. Kitts at JNF, which has served for all these years the people of Nevis and St. Kitts, that they were closed because they had some maintenance that they had to take care of. And as a result, those who needed dialysis had to be rescheduled. And when I heard so, I said, you know, that is part of the value of this generous donation to the people of Nevis, because it means now that we can provide backup to St. Kitts as well. Yes, Nevisians have been going to St. Kitts for years to get their dialysis. So too Kittitians can come to Nevis and get their dialysis. And so it now allows some redundancy in the system, making it easier for people in Nevis to get dialyzed right here in Nevis, but also making it possible for those in St. Kitts to come over, and obviously for Nevisians to go to St. Kitts if and when that need arises as well. That, in my view, is how the country ought to work. Both islands working together for the overall advancement of our people. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to give that update in relation to dialysis. Let me just very quickly, because I know I have a press conference that is coming up when I will get into greater details on a number of matters, but just very quickly on the airport project, I'm advised that we had to to have another look at some of the contractual arrangements. And one of the things that we've done is we've now completely separated the airport side of the project, meaning the runway and the air side, as I think the experts refer to it, and the land side, that is the road and other infrastructure, and we have split that into two. So we are proceeding apace, as I've said, with the runway construction, and I anticipate that the work there, the physical work, is going to start very shortly. We had a couple of small negotiating points. Those have all now been resolved. On the issue of geothermal, I believe that we've reported that some nearly $6 million have been paid to the drillers. The drillers are now in the process of mobilizing. There's a lot that goes into that. A lot of technical expertise is required. There will be a team that we have contracted to go and inspect the rig. That's part of the process, and that team will be accompanied representatives from NEVLEC, and they will go to Iceland, and once the rig is inspected and passed, we then deal with shipping and bringing the rig in and getting the rig to the site, and all of that, this logistics and engineering that's involved. But I'm very grateful that things are moving and that we are on the way. I want to just emphasize that the project thus far, the geothermal project, has relied entirely on the expertise resident at the Nevis Electricity Company, NEVLEC, assisted as they are by outside experts whom the CDB and others have paid for. I'm told we have expertise from New Zealand that has strengthened the team. But the core of that team has been NEVLEC. We had the general manager of NEVLEC who was there, Mr. Albert Gordon from Jamaica. I can't give him enough credit for the work that he did. Now that he's gone, Mr. Al Stapleton, local guy, he's there. He's running NEVLEC, a young man. And he too, very passionate about this project, and he has been taking the lead. Along the way, of course, they've had support from Skelec on St. Kitts, support from the federal government. Now the focal point for the project continues to be NEVLEC. They are the executing agency. I should also advise, and I believe I can say that publicly now because matters, I'm told, have been settled, that we have welcomed back home Dr. Ernie Stapleton from Barnsgut. He was a prominent secretary here. He left to serve the region at the OECS level. I engaged with Dr. Stapleton many months ago and begged him to come home to head up a unit that will ultimately execute this project for the benefit of the island of Nevis, the wider federation, and based on what we are hearing, perhaps even farther afield in terms of other islands. So I want to welcome home Dr. Stapleton. Not that he had left, because Nevis is his home, but as we all know, he took up a prominent role at the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States, the OECS, in St. Lucia, and he was leading the regional effort in renewables and geothermal in particular. Well, he has come home to us to lend that expertise to bring home this project for us. So why I mention that in particular is because I want the people of Nevis to understand that Nevisians are leading this process. Nevisian expertise is leading in relation to the delivery of geothermal for the people of the Federation. And why that is important to me is because if we can get the caliber of individual like Dr. Stapleton, who was leading the OECS effort through the OECS Secretariat in St. Lucia, that he can come home and bring that expertise with him, I believe that that speaks volumes to the seriousness of what we're trying to do here. And so, Dr. Stapleton, if you are listening, thank you for putting country above self and for coming home to assist us to deliver this project. I can also report that we have had some preliminary discussions, the Honorable Prime Minister and I, with the European Union, and the European Union is showing significant interest not only in this project but in expanding this geothermal project to benefit other islands. I know that, for example, you would have heard in the news Prime Minister Gaston Brown of Antigua and Barbuda expressing an interest in getting geothermal energy from Nevis. This is all part and parcel of that conversation with the European Union. As always, as and when I have information, solid information, I will come to the people of Nevis. That is how I operate. That is how I have always operated. That is how I will continue to operate. And so I will come to you and I will share that information with you as and when that information moves to a position where there's more information to share. All I'm doing now is indicating to you that these conversations, very important high-level conversations, are occurring, and that there's considerable interest in this project from various agencies, various governments, various funding organizations. I believe thus far, based on all that I've been advised, the envelope of funding that's available is just about 59 million US dollars. I hope I have that number correct. It's just below 60 million. Let me use looser language. It's just below 60 million US dollars. That's the available funding that we have, and that really funding is designed for various factors to deal with this drilling phase of 5 wells, 3 production and 2 reinjection in the Hamilton area, for the mobilization and demobilization of the rig, but also for the upgrade of the system. And so there will be a considerable level of work to happen here. We have to do considerable work on water to make water available to that site in the quantities that they need it. There will be a considerable level of work in relation to site clearing, to get the road sorted out, to get the rig up to that site. There is a lot of work to be done. And the reason I say that is because I want those who have heavy equipment to get ready. There will be significant work to be done, and then thereafter, during the drilling phase, we are having officials from Icelandic Drilling move to the island. They will be living here, and we expect quite a pool of employment flowing from that particular undertaking, the drilling phase. We advise that the drilling phase should last for about 6 months, and thereafter we hope to move seamlessly into construction of the plant, and so that we can meet the deadline that is proposed of 2030 to have geothermal energy available to the people of Nevis and the wider federation. And so I believe that we're making tremendous progress. The Prime Minister has indicated that he would like to have a joint press briefing. We have heard a lot of the misinformation, because like with everything else, there is so much misinformation out there. But we encourage you to listen to the government's official sources, listen to the information that is disseminated officially, because that is the correct information. Now, I heard, for example, recently, I think it was the leader of NRP, saying all kinds of things about geothermal. I was a little surprised because, of course, the history of geothermal in Nevis was that geothermal started in 2004. I know because as a young lawyer at the time, I was involved with the project. It started in 2004 under CCM-led administration, under Premier Vance Amory, now of blessed memory. And that project was a regional project funded by the OAS, the Organization of American States, a project called GeoCaribe. It involved St. Lucia, Dominica, St. Kitts Nevis, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. And I recall traveling to Martinique, I think it was, also in St. Kitts. That project was well underway when the government in Nevis changed in 2006 and the NRP got into office. The NRP abandoned that regional project, which involved the possibility of international funding. They abandoned that project, and they decided that they will go strictly private sector with a company called West Indies Power. That was a company, I don't know if you all remember names like Kerry McDonald and Rawlinson Isaac. Those were the fellas who were involved with that company, and the NRP got involved with West Indies Power. That is their choice. That was their choice as government. West Indies Power then was involved in advancing the geothermal project, and the politics being what it was, 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011, we had the disputed election where that Black Fox and Cox helped the NRP to steal an election. We went to court, and that matter was ultimately resolved. Justice was served. The High Court and Court of Appeal told Hensley Daniel, you're null and void, go home and sit down. He came back, he got a spanking at the polls. Spanking that was delayed for 18 months because of the skullduggery that the NRP had engaged in. And so, the people went to the polls, and in 2013, they returned the CCM to office. When the CCM got into office in 2013, when we looked at the geothermal project, we met litigation. In layman's terms, West Indies Power and the NRP government at the day were in court. They were fighting against each other. So the friends had become enemies and were now fighting in court. So the first thing we met as a new government was litigation. We had to fight that matter in the High Court. I believe it went to the Court of Appeal. I'm not quite certain. I'll have to check if any aspect went to the Privy Council. But it took some time. Ultimately, as a new government, we won, and West Indies Power had to leave the stage. We then engaged again, this time with the United States government, through their energy desk, through the Department of State Department as they call it, and they were able to pay for some expertise from Deloitte Consulting. And Deloitte came, they helped us. We went through a whole process of bidding, very transparent process led by them, of a request for proposals. Based on that, we had various companies indicate their interests. We selected, again, with the expert assistance of Deloitte Consulting, we selected a company called NREI, Nevis Renewable E Energy Incorporated, I think, NREI. That company was then awarded a contract to produce geothermal for the people of Nevis. And they gave us certain assurances. Those assurances, it turns out, did not materialize. And so as a result, we didn't have to go to court because the contracts that we entered into were sensible and prudent. And once they missed certain milestones, we terminated those contracts, extricated ourselves from that relationship in a smooth, contractual way, and then with the guidance and assistance of Albert Gordon, who had just arrived at Nevlec, we embarked on a different effort, this time involving the Caribbean Development Bank, the Inter-American Development Bank, the Green Climate Fund, and others, including the government of Italy and other friendly governments. The result of that was that as far back as 2017, if my memory is correct, the CDB approved some 18 million US dollars, 1 million in grant funding and 17 million in what was referred to as contingency recoverable grant. And that is, if we were to drill and the wells were to fail, then the money is a grant. If we were to drill and the wells are successful, then the money becomes and is converted to a low interest loan. However, that $18 million was not going to be enough to do the drilling. And so it took us quite a significant amount of time. We engaged with various agencies. We negotiated. In fact, I heard the leader of NRP saying that we should have talked to the Green Climate Fund, we should have talked to CDB, and I said, well, I wonder if she follows the news, or if she's just talking because she likes to hear the sound of her own voice, because if she followed the news, she would know that all that she's saying she would do has already been done. We have talked to all those people. In fact, the Director General of the Green Climate Fund, Mafalda Duarte, personally visited Nevis I walked with her on the geothermal site. She came all the way from South Korea, where the Green Climate Fund is based. Flew to Nevis because she said she was so impressed with the ambition of this government and what we were trying to do that she wanted to come and see for herself. And she spent time with us here on the ground in Nevis. Imagine that. That was, I believe, 2 years ago, if memory serves. Yet to have politicians today say we should be talking to the Green Climate Fund, when the Director General, the head of the Green Climate Fund, flew all the way from South Korea to come to Nevis to meet with us. So, the reality of the situation is that we have had a long journey. That is undeniable. It has been a difficult path. That too is undeniable. But we are finally at a stage now where we can proceed. And let us not, when we talk about the difficulty, ignore the fact that the government in Bastia, the federal government, has for all these years been more of a hindrance than a help in relation to geothermal development. I was part of a team unity government headed by Prime Minister Timothy Harris. And whilst I thought that we were all working together to promote geothermal for Nevis, it was only after that government collapsed. You could imagine my surprise to hear from high officials in the United States government that whilst I as foreign minister was coming to them and touting geothermal and how we can develop it and pushing the idea of moving this renewable resource forward, that at levels above me, they were being told that the government in Bastia was not committed to this project. In fact, I recall there was a company called Terranov from Guadeloupe, and that company had actually entered into an MOU with the Team Unity administration. This fellow we had there called Patches or whatever his name is had actually signed an MOU, and the purpose of that MOU was to explore geothermal on sink kits. And I remember looking at the MOU because there was a clause in there. I don't know if that clause made it into the final version, but there was a clause in there that said that the federal government basically was agreeing not to purchase energy from Nevis. And I just smiled to myself because a lot of things came out after the fact, things that I was not aware of, when I sat every Monday in a cabinet all day with whom I thought were colleagues and people interested in the development of our country, not understanding that they were not colleagues at all, but people who, the minute you turn your back, engage in the worst type of behavior to derail the development of our country. And I say our country because many of them were looking at geothermal and saying it's a Nevis thing, Nevis going to benefit, not realizing that there were significant benefits also for sink kits and the people of sink kits. And so I say these things not because it gives me any satisfaction. I say them because I want the people to understand that this journey has been a lengthy journey. When Prime Minister Drew came to office in 2022, he and I sat, and in our first meeting I raised with him this project, emphasized the importance of this project. He said he understood and he was supportive. And he and I have worked together over the past 3.5 years to bring this project to where it now is. I can only tell the people the truth because that is what happened. And so I've heard also the rhetoric from the opposition in Nevis say we've handed the project to sink kits and sink kits is now running the project. That is simply not the case. We should not misconstrue cooperation for control. This project is led by the Nevis Electricity Company. We have, the Prime Minister and I, discussed ways that we will cooperate, ways that we will develop this resource so that everybody in the country can benefit from it. I don't see that there's anything wrong with that. The monies that are flowing now, they just under $60 million that's available, could not have been available absent the involvement of the government in Bastia. They're the ones who have had to face the CDB, face the IDB, engage with the Saudi government, engage with the Italian government. They're the ones who have engaged with the Green Climate Fund. And I want our people to understand that that does not mean that Nevis has surrendered control. It simply means that Nevis does not have the constitutional authority to engage directly. So whilst Nevis and Nevlec and the officials in Nevis, the government led by myself at this point in time, have been the focal points for engaging, when the time came to sign, it is the government in Bastia that is recognized internationally. Many of you may not know, for example, that I would, on the invitation of the Prime Minister, I would have sent Permanent Secretary Wakely Daniel, who's the Permanent Secretary from the Premier's Ministry. He traveled to Riyadh in Saudi Arabia, and he was the person who, on behalf of the people of Nevis and the wider Federation, made the case to the Saudi government for assistance for geothermal. Wakely Daniel, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Premier. He is who made that presentation in Saudi Arabia. And that presentation was successful. The Saudis agreed that they would contribute some $20 million. But when the time comes, and I want the people to understand, when the time comes for the Saudis to sign that agreement to disburse that money, that is where the federal government now comes in, because the Saudi government will not recognize the island of Nevis as a separate entity. We're not the sovereign. We're not an independent island. So when I hear sometimes the efforts in political circles to mislead, I want the people to be very clear that St. Kitts and Nevis is working together. That is what we're seeking to do, working together to ensure that the man up market shop and the woman in Molyneux, the woman in Cotton Ground, and the man in Keon, that everybody in this country can get cheaper, cleaner energy. And when that happens, and I pray to God that it happens soon, it means that we don't have to worry about what's happening in the Strait of Hormuz, what's happening in Venezuela. When I say we don't have to worry, I mean in terms of the cost of fuel, because we would have weaned ourselves entirely off fossil fuels for the generation of electricity. That will be a remarkable achievement for this country. We'll create new jobs, reorient our economy to an energy-based economy, generate significant revenues, economic expansion from new industries, the export of energy to neighboring islands. There is a host of possibilities and opportunities as a result of God's blessing to the island of Nevis, that we have these large deposits of geothermal energy. And we are developing it together for the benefit of every man, woman, and child in the Federation. I know for some that is novel thinking. I know for some, even in Bastia, that is novel thinking. But we have decided that some aspects to our development are above the party politics. That there are some projects that in their scope are national in nature, are required to revolutionize and transform the entire country. They have that capacity. And I said to the Prime Minister, I will work with you. And he said, Premier, I will work with you on realizing this geothermal resource for the benefit of every man, woman, and child in this country. Equally, I said to him on the issue of national security, I will work with you, that we can bring an end to the scourge of crime and violence that had been afflicting us for far too long. Today, through those efforts, through the efforts of our law enforcement, through the response that we've had from our community, we have turned the corner. And I pray that God continues to guide our people and continues to help us to stay on that path to truly transform our country into a country where peace abounds. But these have been national efforts. And I don't apologize, because I think at the end of the day, what the country needs is mature leadership that produces results. And that is what I have sought to deliver for the people of Nevis. Mature leadership that produces results. So we hear the rhetoric. We understand the politics will play. But I also want our people to be clear as to the facts. And the facts are that we've had a difficult period with this geothermal. And that the other side in Nevis, politically, they can make all the noise they want. But when they had the ball, they fumbled it and ended up in court. We had to come back in, clean up that mess. And now here we are. Would we have wanted it quicker? Absolutely. But we are where we are, and we are on a path to develop this. And along the way, Nevlec has led with distinction, and I thank them. And ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot more to discuss, but I see the time, and I know that there are people out there who would want to speak to us. And so I'll open the lines. The numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. If you want to be a part of the show, then those are the numbers to call. And the phones are lit up already, so let's go. Good evening, you're on the mark. No? Okay. Let's try this caller. Caller, good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening.
Good evening, my friend.
Psalm 62, verse 4, 5, and 6. The only consult to call him down from his excellency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. My soul waits thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be moved. Have a good evening.
Thank you very, very much for that. And thank you. You have a little cough there, so I hope you get over that quickly. Ladies and gentlemen, always good to start the show with a scripture. And I always say thank you to this caller. She's usually the first caller, and she always has a scripture to share with us. Let's go back to the phones. Well, no, we don't have a call. Let's wait for the calls to come. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. We're taking your calls, and we encourage people out there who want to be a part of the show to call in and share their views, share their opinions, and to engage with us. We are definitely trying here on the show to invite all shades of public opinion. As we say, the standards here at Von Radio, only the best will do. And so we expect that when you do call, you will conduct yourself in a particular manner, and that manner is to say what you have to say, be firm in your viewpoint, but be respectful at all times. That is non-negotiable so far as we are concerned. And so I invite you definitely to call in and to be a part of the show. And as we continue, we will take your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, while we wait for the phones to ring, I will just continue to engage. Of course, we have seen a number of articles, a number of developments in the news. We see that the difficulties in Iran, that those difficulties continue. The Strait of Hormuz continues to be closed. That is having a tremendous knock-on effect in terms of the cost of living and the cost of fuel. I recognize as we walk around, people are deeply concerned about the cost of electricity. We'll get back to that in a moment. Well, let's go to the phones. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark. Hello? Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
I'm not hearing you so well. Can you raise your voice a bit for me?
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening.
Okay. I would like to extend some belated birthday greetings to my stepmother, Santo Gonzalez Jones of Fountain Village. She made 80 years, 80 big ones. And also to Mertlin Claxton of Clegon. Happy birthday to Mertlin as well. Happy belated birthday. And also congratulations to my niece, Shakanya Jones, and Dre Jones for doing remarkably well on their CXC exam. And this is coming from none other than Vanessa Tavares of Bat Village. Have a wonderful evening, Mr. Brantley.
Thank you very much, and I join you in extending birthday greetings and congratulations, as you have done, to my friend Mirthlin, to your family member there, as you say, who turned 80. 80 is a beautiful age. I hope that, of course, our gender affairs and seniors affairs divisions were there to celebrate. We tend to do that each year. We've introduced a very robust seniors program where we recognize those who have achieved such milestones. And so happy birthday to them and congratulations, as you have said. Let's keep with the phones. The phones are really lighting up, and say good evening. You're on the mark.
Hey.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good morning. Good night, good night.
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead.
I want to say happy birthday to Morton Clarkson at Cleggett.
Yes.
Yeah, she said she'll listen tonight.
She listening?
Yeah, coming from, yeah, right now she'll listen.
Okay.
Poochie Eyeball.
Poochie Eyeball.
Hey, I like your program tonight.
All right, thanks, Poochie Eyeball.
Yeah.
All right, and happy birthday to Mirthlin again.
All the best.
Okay, God bless. We've taken your calls. Let's stick with the phones and go straight back to the lines. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening to you.
I would like to say thank you for Macy, Lisbeth, and the girls. Every morning they come to massage my knees.
Yes.
And I'm walking good now. I could let go kick.
They don't kick anybody.
No, kick nobody, but I just want to say thank you to them. They do a master job on me. I don't know who sent them, but they come and I accept them and I give God.
What do you mean you don't know who sent them? It's a government program. What do you mean you don't know who sent them? Huh? It's one of the initiatives that this government has introduced.
I know.
Mansfield and his team have done a wonderful job.
Man.
So I'm happy that you've got some relief.
Yeah, man, and I don't have to walk with a big cane anymore. I walk with just a little, smaller stick like.
Okay.
And and I'm out to work and so.
All right.
And I want to say thank you to them. And if they don't find me home, they reach to the restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I am appreciate it very much. Thank you.
No problem at all. You know, it's always a wonderful thing, ladies and gentlemen, when you put policies and programs in place and you hear the calls from members of the community who are benefiting from these policies and programs. Here's a caller who's benefiting from a program that we introduced where we have these therapists who come to your homes and offer physical therapy, massages and the like in the comfort of your home. We come to you. It's not for free in the sense that clearly we have to pay individuals to do it. But this is yet another example of how this government cares and how we take care of people. Our mantra as a party has always been people matter most. There is no development without people. And when I hear calls like this, it warms my heart because it tells me that these policies are working. These policies are delivering genuine results for our people. And that ultimately is why people elect governments, to make things better for them. So I am very pleased to hear this caller. I'm so happy to hear that you're getting relief. And I too join in congratulating Maysfield and the entire team. Let's go back to the phones. Good evening, caller. You're on the mark.
Good evening, Mr. Brantley.
Yes, good evening.
My premier, and how are you doing?
I am doing well, and it's so lovely to hear your voice.
Yeah, you sound nice.
Yes, thank you.
Good night to you again. I am asking you for permission to send out 2 birthday greetings. One is belated birthday greetings to Merceline Claxton of Claygut, and happy birthday to Sassy of Hanley's Road. Wishing them God's guidance and many more fruitful and happy years from Mel and family. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that.
Now I go to my scripture.
Yes.
I'm reading from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. My son, forget not my law, But let thine heart keep my commandments. For length of days and long life and peace shall they add it to thee. And Premier Brantley, I'm also wishing you a happy anniversary ahead, and I'm wishing you God's guidance and protection with lots of love and many more fruitful and healthy years of togetherness from myself and family. Have a blessed night.
Thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate it. And I thank you on behalf of all of those that you've extended such beautiful good wishes to. And I join you in saying happy birthday to all those who are celebrating. Murthlin, if you're listening, everybody's calling to wish you happy birthday tonight. So happy birthday. Continue to enjoy. Ladies and gentlemen, the numbers to call are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Through the power of technology, I continue to check in with the online audience, those who are watching and commenting via Facebook. I thank them for being here. I want to shout out to people like Smitty and Dolores and others who are here. There's some NRP fellas and ladies as well who join us every Wednesday, and they keep the live jiggy because they always have something to say. So we encourage them and welcome them as well. They have to feed the algorithm, so that is always a good thing. And just to say that we are continuing with our commitment to create a boat ramp for the boaters to get their boats in and out of the water. It is something that boaters have been asking for some time, and I've asked the Honorable Alexis Jeffers to look at this, to come up with a costing, but of course to do so in consultation with our boaters. So it's a matter that we are looking at very closely, and we have made that commitment to deliver that relief. We know, especially when the rough seas, hurricanes are threatening, that boaters complain bitterly. So as part and parcel of developing the boating industry on this island, we are committed to providing some support in that regard, and we are working on that. But let's go back to the phones and see if there's somebody there who wants to talk to us. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, good evening.
Good evening to you.
Yes, Mr. Brantley. Can you tell us what happened to that proposal? I think it came from the Landing Bay Fishers Association. I think it was $1 million project, was to break water wall project at Indian Castle. Sometime in June of 2022, it was the understanding that they got the green light to go ahead, but all of a sudden nothing happened. Do you want to tell us what really happened to that project?
I'm not aware, caller. I don't have that information to hand. I certainly don't know or have the details of the project that you're speaking about. If they were going to do a project of that nature, I would imagine that project would have gone through the minister with responsibility for fisheries.
Back then, that was who?
The minister responsible for fisheries in 2020. Well, it depends on when in 20. Well, in 2020 would have been the Honorable Alexis Jeffers. Would have been the Honorable Alexis Jeffers.
Would that not have been correspondence? Would not have been made with Mr. Huey Sargent?
Well, I don't know. He would have been the permanent secretary, but the minister would have been the Honorable Alexis Jeffers at that time.
So you're not aware of $1 million project that was?
I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not saying there wasn't such a project. I'm just saying that I don't have any details of it to hand. You've called me and you've asked me about the project and what has happened to it. I do not know. Yeah. I don't have that information.
That's a project of $1 million for local fishermen in 2022. I'm rather surprised that you don't have a clue.
Well, perhaps you can assist us then. You call in. So what information do you have that you can share with us?
I'm asking you about it because I heard of it, and then all of a sudden it fell through, a great project like that. So I would have think that in your capacity as Premier, you would have some information, or you would know.
So you don't have any information on it either?
Information is for you to tell the people.
I see.
That's why I call and I ask you, because I want you to expound on the project.
So
I did mention that I am concerned about why it fell through, and that should tell you that I am probably not privy to information that you should have. That
but caller, you've shared with us that there was a project, that the project has fallen through. So you seem to have quite a bit of information.
It has to fall through because there was a proposal in for it. They got the green light.
So you know there was a proposal. You know there was a green light. You know the project falls through.
Mr. Premier.
Yes.
In June of 2022,
yes,
the project came through. They got the green light.
Yes.
Just like any division, whether it's in Nevis or in the diaspora, I know of this
But
project.
you don't have any details of the project. That's what I'm asking
about
you.
The project, and it fell through.
Okay.
I call in to ask you.
I'm not your PRO or anything. I'm calling to get information.
But caller, if you call to ask, just listen to me.
I asked a question.
But caller, please, you seem to be getting agitated when there's no need. I'm simply saying to you, if you're calling, you knew that there was a project in June of 2022. You said it was green lighted. You then said the project fell through. You seem to have quite a bit of information. I'm saying to you that I do not have the information that you seem to have. Can you share with us some details of the project? Your response to that.
I seem to have quite a bit of information.
But
I know of the association that sent in the proposal.
Yes.
I know how much the project they were proposing, and I know it was supposed to be in June of 2022. It would have taken like something like 32 weeks. It fell through. I am asking you,
okay.
Why did it fall
All
through?
right.
Why are we not hearing anything about it?
All right, caller. Well, I can't answer your questions. Anything further for us?
I'll probably look forward to hearing one of the journalists them ask you when you have your next press conference. So please walk with the information.
All right, thank you.
I would like to hear about that local project.
Okay, caller. Thank you very much. And I think that this call demonstrates sometimes the difficulties we have on live programs, because this caller calls in. The caller is asking me about a project that she seems to be very familiar with. She has a date for the project. She knows it was a great project. She knows the cost of the project. She said she knows who proposed the project. She said the project has fallen through. She's asking me why. I'm saying I don't have any details of that project. Can you share some information? I don't have any information. It's up to you. You're the premier. You must have the information. Our people are wonderful. Wonderfully made. I swear. Anyway, that is where we are. Caller, I can't answer your question because I don't know what project you're talking about. But it will be helpful to conversations, bearing in mind that we are in the public domain and we are here to educate each other, that if you call in and you have a specific concern about a specific matter, that you're able to put the matter squarely with all the information that you have. You seem to have had quite a bit of information on this particular project, but then when asked, you say, it's not for you, it's for me. When I told you specifically that I did not know about this project, I don't have the information to hand. So I don't come here armed with every single bit of information, with every single thing that has happened or is happening in the country. The government is a wide body, and I was never responsible for fisheries, and that you're talking about does not ring a bell for me. So I apologize that I don't have the information that you seem to be looking for, but it does seem to my mind that you have far more information than you're prepared to share with us. And perhaps had you done so, we would have had the ability to have a conversation. So I can't help you on that one, caller, but I encourage you to continue to call in. And when you call in, don't be shy about sharing what information you do have. So going back to the issue of the boat ramp, I just wanted to assure boaters that we have heard them as we're walking around, as we engage in. This is a continuous complaint that we're getting, and we're certainly looking to see what we can do to assist. As I said, I've tasked the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, functions as an advisor to my office, and I've tasked him to look at this matter and to come back with solutions so that the cabinet can take a decision. But help is on the way. That assurance I will give to the boaters that we will make this possible. One of the debates that has been held is really what is the best location. The water taxi operators operate out of Wally. Should we use that site to find some place there? Forgive me. Should we use that site to find a spot somewhere there? Some have argued that that area is a little congested already, and so we are trying to work that out, get the parking lot sorted out, and to see how much space we have there and how much space we can use to ensure that we have a facility that is first class. Anything we do, we want it to be first class, fit for purpose, and that will advance the boating sector on the island. So we're definitely working at it. And then, of course, you know, this is Nevis. So just to share with the public, we don't have a boat ramp. There's none currently on the island. The boaters are complaining. So we said, okay, let us see what we can do to assist. So we start the conversation about getting a boat ramp. Somebody called me and said, hey, you're going to have to build several boat ramps. I said, why? He said, because the boaters in Bath and other areas are not going to go over by Oali to pull up no boat. So I said to him, well, but there's no boat ramp now at all. So clearly people are struggling to get the boats out of the water. So if we were to put up the ramp, why would people not choose to use that ramp if they have the option? No, we want a ramp in our area for us. And so that, I suppose, is just the nature of things sometimes when you deal with development. But I'm satisfied that we're looking at it and that we'll come back to you in due course with information as to what we propose. I have said very clearly to the Honorable Alexis Jeffers that in engaging, I want to engage with the boaters. We have to consult with the experts to find out from them what they want. And we also realize that some boats, the smaller fishing boats, some boats are private leisure craft, and then you have the water taxis, which are larger size boats that go back and forth. So question is really, what can we do to partner with the boaters and to make what we do a lot better? So that is where we are. That's the thinking at this point. And so I know that that's good news to a lot of voters out there, because they have been asking for this for some time. Now, going back, I started out, and the lines are still open, please. So if you want to call, 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. And if you've just tuned in, this is the Voice of Nevis, Von Radio, the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, 860 on your AM dial. And we are broadcasting on YouTube and Facebook. And I want to welcome you if you're just tuning into this edition of On the Mark. I'm your host, Mark Brantley. And as always, we are here on Wednesdays through the grace of God, through the power of technology, and through the permission of Von Radio, and certainly through the financial assistance of the law firm of Daniel Brantley. They have paid for this show for over 20 years, and I'm grateful to them for that. I believe that they are worthy of commendation, that this is the reason why we are allowed to be on air. This show is not a government show in the sense that it is not paid for by taxpayers. It is not paid for by the taxpayers of Nevis. It is paid for by the law firm of Daniel Brantley. And so I say thank you to them, to all the lawyers and staff there. For all these years, they have financed this show. And, of course, thank you to Von Radio for having us on air. The numbers again to call are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, as we go around in the community, one of the topics that keeps coming up is the cost of electricity. And we understand that that is now a major concern for our people. We have tried as government to explain the circumstances and to say that for 4 years we as government absorbed the fuel surcharge. What we realized was, with the war in Iran and the closure of the Strait of Hormuz and the attendant rapidly escalating cost of fuel, we could no longer carry that burden alone. And so we took the difficult decision to allow the fuel surcharge to pass through to our households and our businesses. What we've been asking our people is to do what they can do to reduce their consumption of electricity. Interestingly, as we're walking around the community, some people have said they've seen a significant increase in their bills, while others are saying that their bills have not changed too significantly. And when I ask the question, it seems like the difference is the usage. There's some people who are taking active decisions and active control over how much electricity they use. We'll come back to that, but we'll go to the phones now. Good evening, you're on the mark.
Good evening, this is Livingstone Williams,
Yes.
a.k.a. Stoneman.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. You want some information about this ramp, which was supposed to have been done down Indian Castle. The association is Landing Bay Fishers Association. They submitted a proposal June the 15th, 2022. Mr. Huey Sargent was the permanent secretary dealing with it. They got approximately 4 acres of land to do maintenance, storage. They were supposed to build a storage facility. They were going to design a break wall, which was paid for. Scope of the work, 32 weeks. Total cost, about $1 million. They have 30 members, part of this association. And everything was supposed to have gone ahead. And then all of a sudden, it was no more said about it. And now we are talking about doing another ramp. So I wonder if that's going to go the same way.
But caller, please help me understand and help the public understand, because this issue has just arisen on the air tonight. So you said a proposal was made.
By the Landing Bay Fishers Association.
Okay, so the proposal was made to the government.
Yes, sir.
And you said that you had the Landing Bay Fishers Association had the funding and all that in place.
They were promised the funding from the government. Spencer Brand was involved. Alexis Jeffers was involved. The permanent secretary who signed off on the 4 acres of land which they were supposed to get to establish the ramp and the facilities to do maintenance and storage of the equipment was the sergeant.
So the association made the proposal to government, but it was for government to fund it.
The government said that they would fund it. They said they had the funding.
Okay, all right. Well, I didn't understand that. So now you've clarified that. So a proposal was made to government to build this facility, but it was for the government to pay to fund the construction of the facility. And you're saying that nothing more was said after some time. Well,
they paid. I think it's Tranquil. Let me just peruse this.
Yes.
They paid a company, Tranquil. I can't remember its name, but Tranquility Design. Tranquil Design.
Yes.
They paid them thousands of dollars to construct a proper engineering drawing for the ramp and the break wall, because it would also have a breakwater so that boats could come in safety, because down Indian Castle is very rough.
Yes.
On the Atlantic side. And they also designed a ramp, a proper concrete ramp. There's a gentleman named Banjo who did a lot of the work. There's boulders down there which had already been put in place. So it had actually started.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, everything stopped.
All right. You wait, let me just back up a bit. You said they paid Tranquility. When you say they, you mean the government?
No.
Uh-huh.
The association.
Okay, so the association paid for the design.
Yes.
I see. All right. Well, I'm happy that you brought this and you brought a little bit more perspective, because I certainly am going to ask some questions in the morning about this particular project. I can't say that even with the information you've given me that the project rings a bell, but you've mentioned Minister Brand was involved. He's still in the cabinet. You've mentioned Minister Jeffers was involved, and he's still around the government. And you mentioned Huey Sargent. Huey has moved on, but if there was a proposal and that proposal, as you say, was to be acted upon, then information should still be there. I will undertake to have a look at it, because I'm not aware.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thank you for that. I believe that information was very helpful, and I will look at it certainly in the morning to see where we are. It may be that with this new information, we have a lot of the work done already for this ramp that we are now talking about. So thank you, caller, for that. I appreciate it.
Well, you see, that is the point, because they've got in proper designs already.
Yes.
Even the building where they want to do their maintenance and storage of stuff, they have a building, a sketch, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
And but the drawing for the facility, for the actual ramp and breakwater and the foundation and everything, is there, and it was done by, I assume, it's a reputable company.
Okay, Tranquility Design, you say. I think I'm familiar with that name, so good. Well, thank you very much. I will definitely commit to looking into that tomorrow. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm very grateful for that. It's 25 minutes past the hour of 9 o'clock, and we continue to take your calls at 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, going back to the issue of the cost of electricity, as I said, we are getting an overwhelming, I would use that word, expression from the public that they're concerned about the cost of electricity. Some businesses have also reached out that they're concerned. But at the same time, we're getting some persons who are saying to us that their bill has not moved very much. And they're claiming that that is because they are practicing conservation. One person said to me that they use the AC, for example, very sparingly. And they used to wash a few times a week, and they now have reduced the number of times that they use their washing machine and things. So people are taking measures to try to control the cost, and I'm encouraging conservation both of electricity and water as we move forward, but also to say that the cabinet continues to look to see what we can do. I am not tonight making any commitments because this now comes down to the cost of doing it. And when we took that very difficult decision to reimpose the fuel surcharge, it really was because we recognized that if we continued, given the price increases, we could not be able to pay salaries and to do the other things that the NIA is asked to do. So we had to ask our people to assume the responsibility to take charge of their costs of usage and to restrict the extent to which they use electricity. And I think that NEVLEC has done a really good job in putting out time and time again conservation suggestions and recommendations. And so I encourage very strongly our people to pay attention and to take such measures as they can in their own households, in their businesses, to reduce the level of consumption of electricity. I think that would be very, very useful. And so we will continue to do the best we can. As again I say, you know, sometimes people accuse the government of not caring, but for 4 years the government carried that burden. For 4 long years, from 2022 until 2026, there was no fuel surcharge being paid by our households. And when it got to the point where we couldn't hold the strain anymore, we did come and we did advise the public. And so I do apologize for that, but these are circumstances sometimes well outside the control of small governments like us, small countries like us. And when I look around the world, the complaint is the same all around, of the cost, the increasing cost of fuel and increasing cost of energy. And that is something that we pledge to continue to monitor very carefully. The fuel surcharge is such that any relief that comes will be passed through to you immediately, and we will continue to monitor to see what else we might be able to do. So this is a government that cares. This is a government that will continue to demonstrate that it cares, and this is a government that puts the people at the center of everything that we do. And so we certainly look forward to working and to bring in what relief we can to the people of Nevis. And we hope and pray that these difficulties, these wars, and the horror that has been caused, not only in human suffering, but also in the disruption to global supply chains and the increasing cost of insurance that has skyrocketed the cost of fuel and the cost of doing business and even the cost of food. Because I actually found out that a lot of fertilizer is produced in the Middle East, and a lot of fertilizer also comes to the Strait of Hormuz. And so all of those routes are being choked off. People now can't get fertilizer for their farming. One of the things that I discussed quite recently with the new owners of Delta and Sol was whether or not they can't source fuel from Guyana, from Trinidad, and from Venezuela. Being that those locales are closer to us geographically, that would cut down on the shipping costs. And I'm hopeful that the insurance costs will be less because we are still in the region in a zone of peace. So there's no war that is happening in our region, and therefore the hope would be that if we could get oil and petroleum products from closer, then that would assist. The response that I got is that Trinidad is not producing at a level that can provide the type of support for the rest of the region, and that Guyana's production level is still being ramped up, so they're not yet at a level either, and that Venezuela is certainly, with the difficulties they've had, it is unclear where Venezuela now stands in relation to its capacity to supply the region. And so we continue to struggle with that. I should also point out that over the years, again, one of the oddities of this St. Kitts Nevis arrangement as a country, that Nevis has never benefited at all from the Petro-Caribe arrangement. So anytime Nevis needs to buy diesel, Nevis has had to go out and buy its diesel. St. Kitts was getting diesel through that Petro-Caribe arrangement from Venezuela. Now the good news is that Nevis therefore has no debt. We don't owe Petro-Caribe anything. And I recall that when I was in government at the national level, St. Kitts owed tens of millions. In fact, I think it was perhaps almost $100 million, if I recall, that was owed to Petro-Caribe for fuel provided over the years. But Nevis has never, ever benefited from one drop of diesel, one drop of fuel from the Petro-Caribe arrangement. It is what it is. The result of that, however, is that we have continued to struggle in terms of the cost of fuel. And that is why I spent some time speaking earlier about geothermal energy and the exploration efforts that we are embarked upon. Not the exploration, we passed that, I'm sorry. The commercialization effort that we embarked upon, because I think that will ultimately be the answer. And that all of us must look forward to that day. Now, as I mentioned geothermal, let me address a point that I should have addressed earlier. I saw some commentary that I, in opposition, many years ago, had said that we needed to be aware of any risks of earthquake as a result of the geothermal exploration. And, of course, the NRP, being who they are, have sought to misrepresent the position that I had raised back then. The position I had raised back then was quite simple. At the time, the NRP was in bed with West Indies Power. And being in bed with West Indies Power, everything they said to us was what West Indies Power said to them. The point that I made back then was simple. To the extent that people were concerned that drilling into the Earth's crust could create earthquakes and the like, could we get an independent analysis to give the public some reassurance on that matter, instead of simply regurgitating as government whatever West Indies Power told them? My thesis was simple. West Indies Power has a vested interest as the developer to say what is in its best interest to say. And so telling us that there will be no problem was in West Indies' best interest. The way you get around that is to get independent analysis. And that was a simple point that I made. When we got into government in 2013, and after we were able to clear up all these court cases and got back on track with geothermal, what did we do as a responsible government? We got the experts from the University of the West Indies. We got the experts, I think they call it seismology, the seismologists who study earthquakes. And I recall it was right at NEPAC. We had a town hall meeting. And those scientists, some of them were on Zoom, and there was an engagement there. And they explained the process, and they gave the public the necessary reassurance that there should be no earthquakes or other difficulties as a consequence of the process to extract geothermal for the benefit of our people. And so I do not deny that in opposition I called for that independent reassurance, that independent analysis from experts, and that we should just not accept West Indies Power's word for it, but we should verify. I think it was President Reagan who talked about trust but verify. And that's what I was saying. Let us verify. Well, when we got into government, my government took my advice and we verified. And that is why we can move forward with some confidence, because we had the experts from the University of the West Indies, seismology unit, came and they spoke to us and they spoke to the public. And so I'm very grateful for that. And I like to be able to clarify these matters so that the public is clear that as a government, the CCM has always acted responsibly and will continue to act responsibly. The lines are open. We have 25 minutes left. 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Now, let me see if I can find some information. There was a gentleman who said he would call in, but I haven't heard him just yet. But he had sent me some information. If I can locate it, I will certainly let you know. But while I'm looking for that, let me remind everyone that Spider's annual fish fry is happening on Saturday, September 5th, Labor Day weekend. It starts at 2 p.m. and it goes on till it ends. Tickets in advance are $30. Tickets on the day are $35. DJ Glenn out of Florida will be the DJ, and Odyssey Band out of Nevis will be there. The address is 334 Harper Drive, Stockbridge, Georgia. 30281 is the area code. And if, of course, you want to be a part of this, you can call 646-430-5925 or 404-960-2053. And whilst I'm in Georgia, let me also invite one and all to the Independence Gala being put on by the St. Kitts Nevis Association of Georgia. They're having their Independence Gala on Saturday, September 12th, starting at 7 p.m. and going until 12 a.m. The event venue is Classique, 4823 Rockbridge Road, Stone Mountain, Georgia, 30083. And they've asked me, as the Premier of Nevis, to be the featured speaker. So I hope to be there with them in Georgia on the 12th, the evening of the 12th. And so we look forward to that and to engage with those folks there. Now, I said I was looking for something, and let me see if I can find it on my phone, because this caller had promised to call in this evening about... I have found it. So this caller, I haven't heard him yet, but he has asked me to say to you and the graduates of the University of the West Indies that we are trying to revive the UWI Alumni Association of St. Kitts and Nevis chapter. And they're having what they call a meet and mingle. So if you're a graduate of UWI, you're being invited to the venue. Is a Sugar Apple, Fort Lands, Bastia, St. Kitts. Saturday, 29th of August. I think that is next Saturday. They start at 6:30. Business casual is the dress. And they're saying to come, connect, collaborate, and create impact. Join fellow UWI alumni for an engaging evening of meaningful connections and lasting relationships. You're asked to RSVP by 24th August, and you're calling, please call 662-4559 or 662-5473 for more information. I encourage all the UWI grads out there to get involved and to see whether or not they could attend that very important function as they try to revive the St. Kitts Nevis UWI Alumni Association. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is On the Mark. It is 20 minutes to the hour of 10 o'clock. It means you have 20 minutes left, and so I can take some calls. I'd prefer not to have to talk for 20 minutes. So if you're out there and you have something to say, please call in. If you do not, then obviously you'll be stuck with me for the next 20 minutes. And I have taken some time this evening to talk about the improvements in healthcare, more specifically dialysis. I have taken some time to, of course, encourage attendance at some of these events in the diaspora. And I can say that we as a government continue to support and to participate in these various events, just because we are persuaded that Nevisians at home and Nevisians abroad have a bridge connecting us, and we must do everything to strengthen that bridge. So again, the numbers are 869-469-1616 and 869-469-1700. Those are the numbers to call if you want to be a part of this program this evening, and you have 20 minutes left. I get the complaint often. People say, oh, I was trying to get in and I couldn't get in. Well, the lines are now open, and the lines are free. There are no calls. And so if you want to call in, you certainly can and be a part of the program for this particular edition. Now, we have last week spent some time with you, ladies and gentlemen, speaking to the economy and what we're seeing in terms of economic activity here on the island of Nevis. And the folks at the Ministry of Finance who prepare these reports are quite happy with where we are at half year. Now, as a government, we've introduced this reporting and said that each quarter we need a health check, if you will. We want the experts in the Ministry of Finance to advise us where we are. We need those updates on a quarterly basis. It helps to guide us. We know where we might be falling down and where we are doing strong, and it really allows us to plan much better. And so that is where we currently stand. And so the half-year report as of June, we were actually doing quite creditably. It has been the best that we've seen in the last few years. And it suggests to us that the recovery from COVID is really now in full swing, that we have had the difficulties from COVID, which was now 4 or 5 years ago, and we are now recovering. And so we are very grateful for that. We have seen a tremendous shortfall or fall off in the level of revenue coming in from the Citizenship by Investment program, but Nevis was never as dependent on that program as St. Kitts was. And so we here in Nevis, of course, the public will know that over the many years, Nevis only got about 8% of that money. St. Kitts kept 92% over there. And over those years, we therefore had to find other creative ways on the island of Nevis to pay our bills and to develop this island. And that has served us well, because now that the money has dried up, we have not suffered quite as much. We have continued to promote the diversification agenda that my government announced since COVID. We have continued to promote film. We have continued to promote online gaming. We have continued to expand the financial services sector, which is growing in leaps and bounds. We have continued to incentivize construction, and the whole of Nevis currently is under construction. When you go around this island, the number of homes that are being built. When I go into the community and I am speaking to individuals, they're telling me that it's a good time for construction in Nevis. In fact, many of the contractors are crying out saying they can't find workers. Workers are in demand. I spoke to one young man just as we walked around in the Chicken Stone area. He was on his way from work, and I had the opportunity to engage with him. How are things? How are things going? He said things are going very well. Different people, he says, are calling him. We want him to come and work with them, but he's working with somebody at the moment. And on the weekends, he says, he's doing work on the side because there's so much to be done. That warms my heart. And I say to some of our young people out there, especially our young men, I hear the complaint all the time from some of them that they can't find something to do. Take up yourself. Go to these construction sites. There's work available. And the work is good paying work. Even if you may not have the skills in terms of a mason or carpenter, even as a laborer, the work is good paying work. So I encourage people to go out and to go and seek out opportunity. Construction on Nevis is booming, and that is as a result of the incentives that we provided to that sector. First-time homeowners, we've expanded that. People who are doing commercial construction. The NHLDC continues to build, whether it's in Maddens or Zion. New developments continue to open up. We're in the process even now of seeking to finalize with planning the availability of lots in the Ghana's estate area. Those will be at the higher end residential lots. We are not proposing on those lots to offer the housing. We are offering that you can purchase the land and you build when you're ready. Although we expect there will be covenants to protect the value, But already University Heights is there, and we know that that area will be an upper middle income area, and so we're trying to develop a plan to sell lands that we acquired, some 34 acres if I recall, of lands that we acquired in that area, and make those lands available to the people of Nevis, especially those in the diaspora. If you're listening to me, come and buy a piece of the rock if you don't have peace already. Those lands we are hoping will be available very soon. They've only not been available yet because we've had quite a back and forth with planning to get the necessary approvals so we can proceed. But let's go to the phones and take this call. Caller, you're on the mark. Hello?
Good night, Honorable Mark. How are you doing?
Yes, good night, brother. I'm good, man. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, man. Just like what you were saying just a while, I was speaking to someone in Nevis concerning about you don't have enough tradesmen over in Nevis, but obviously they come from St. Kitts. And I'm glad that you speak about that because, I mean, the person is not telling any lie.
Right.
That they have a lot of construction going on out in Nevis. You know, and that's really good. Now, my question is to you, Honorable Mark. I know you deal with two leaders. I want to ask you a question like the experience between the two leaders you work with. What is the difference you could tell me between both of them, working with them, handling issue for Nevis, Brother Harris and Joe? Because I continue hearing do this and do that. So if you could give me the experience that you had with both leaders concerning getting fair deal and things with Nevis. And I will say this again, and I will say this, some will give extra whatever. Ain't gonna have no leader like you controlling Nevis. You use a plain speaker, and I just love you because you fight for Nevis. And you're always saying that. And I don't think Nevis would have any other leader to stand up for Nevis as strong as you always do. But I want to answer the question for me, working with both leaders, Harris and Joe, comparing between dealing with them concerned about issue for Nevis. Then I will hang up a list.
Okay, thank you very much, caller. And yes, on the issue of construction, what you were told is absolutely correct. That's a complaint that we're getting here from contractors as well. It's very difficult. Right now, people have even come to the government to ask, can they bring in workers from other islands because of the state of construction and the boom that's happening on the island of Nevis at the moment. There's a lot of private homes, apartments, various construction that's happening, and we welcome that, but it has been spurred in part by the incentives that the government is offering. And we also having another aspect is that people are taking up the challenge to come home and invest. So we are hearing more and more. Just last week I met with two different individuals who live abroad but are Nevisians, and they met with me to discuss with me their projects that they want to do and execute here. And the government has in fact set up a special office headed by Mr. Delvin Clark, and that office is in the Solomon Arcade, and the idea behind that office is really to create a one-stop shop for those people who want to come home, the diaspora. And when I say come home, it may not necessarily mean you're physically moving home, but that you are investing at home. There's a huge demand for Airbnb. There's a huge demand for rental property. There's a huge demand for commercial property. And we invite people to respond to that demand and to build. We have a lot of abandoned homes and abandoned properties on the island. Again, many of those belong to people abroad. Families, some are mired in family dispute. We're asking families to get together. These properties have value, and to realize the value of those properties. So working together, all of us, we sometimes focus a lot on the foreign investor, but if we work together, we too can invest and create economic activity on this island. And that's why I continue to invite our people in the diaspora, many of whom are in a good financial position, to invest a little something back here in the land of their birth. Now, you asked me a question about what it's been like working with Dr. Terence Drew as the Prime Minister compared to what it was like working with Dr. Timothy Harris as the Prime Minister. I will say to you, caller, that there's one fundamental difference, and that is that I was a part of Prime Minister Harris's government. We had a unity government, and the CCM played a role in that government. As you recall, it was three parties: PAM, PLP, and the CCM. PAM was the senior partner, CCM was the next senior, and the PLP was the junior partner. However, based on the agreement that we had formed prior to government, Prime Minister Harris, with his one seat, was given the Prime Minister's chair. That was the deal. Nevis, I believe, benefited under that arrangement, but Nevis benefited in large measure because Nevis was at the table. If Nevis had pulled out, for example, of that first government from 2015, the government would have collapsed, because we had PAM with 4 seats, Timothy Harris, PLP with 1, and CCM therefore was the party that gave the majority to that coalition. And so Nevis reaped some benefits because we were at the table and we were needed. What I found was that after we got in 5 years, I noticed that there's certain things started to happen. I became Premier in 2017, and I realized that certain tendencies of the Prime Minister Harris started to come to the fore. One of the things that it became very obvious to me was that Harris was insecure. Harris felt that I, as the leader of CCM, wanted to be Prime Minister, and he set about seeking to do all in his power to undermine me. He also felt that Sean Richards, the leader of PAM, wanted to be Prime Minister, and set about eventually also undermining Sean Richards. He started, however, the undermining with me. And I mentioned things like geothermal. The fundamental thing that people need to understand about Prime Minister Harris is that Prime Minister Harris will tell you what he wants you to hear. And in my several meetings with him and the several letters that we would have exchanged as Premier and Prime Minister, one would have thought that the relationship was quite good. In fact, I have been on record many times publicly saying that the relationship was an excellent relationship. You look at geothermal and the comments that I made earlier. In his representations to me, he was fully supportive. I was only to find out after the fact that while he would tell me to my face I'm fully supportive, and I would then come back with that assurance that I had the support of Bastia, when he was in his other meetings with US and other officials, he shared that with them that he was not supporting this particular project in Nevis. That was just the nature of the man. And he became preoccupied with feeling that I wanted to be the Prime Minister of the Federation, when I kept saying to him and to the world, my interest was to get the development of the island of Nevis and to help the people of Nevis. That is why I entered politics. I had no ambitions to be any Prime Minister. I said over and over, just give Nevis the fair share that was promised in the Charleston Accord, and I would be most comfortable. Because the people of Nevis then would have access to a large pool of funding to develop this island. He refused. And every time that I pressed him, what he would do is give a little more. So he started giving $2 million a month. That eventually ended up at $5.5 million. In fact, he raised it up by $1.5 million a month when Unity started to show cracks. If you look at the timing, we started to get that money just after, I believe, was the elections of 2020. And so it was, with the benefit of hindsight, Prime Minister Harris doing what he wanted to do, not for Nevis or for the love of Nevis. Not because he believed in the Federation as a single unit and a single entity, but because he wanted to hold on to power and he needed the Nevis cohort there to keep him there. In the 2020 election, the PLP and PAM could have formed a government without the CCM because PLP managed 2 seats and PAM had 4. Nevertheless, CCM continued in government with them until, I suppose, Prime Minister Harris thought that he had done enough. He and his team, who attacked me mercilessly on Facebook and social media every day, that he then turned the wrath onto Sean Richards. Sean approached me and said he was not going to have it, that he had, according to him, irrefutable evidence of the efforts of the Prime Minister against him, and he was out. In fact, many don't know that had it been up to Sean, the government would have collapsed since that January. It is I who said to Sean that we should exercise restraint and to seek to negotiate in order to help to preserve the government. Regrettably, when we sought to negotiate, Prime Minister Harris was persuaded by his team that he was powerful, that the PLP was all powerful, and that he did not need either the CCM or PAM. And so he ended up firing 6 of us and ultimately collapsing the government. We went back to the polls in 2022, and of course, he went from 2 seats back to his 1 sole solitary seat. PAM went from 4 down to 1. And the CCM that I'm proud to lead, it was the only party that went to the polls with 3 seats and came back with 3. The people of Nevis stuck with us, and for that I'm truly grateful. And in 2022, Prime Minister Drew came in. I want to make it clear, caller, that we had no arrangement with Prime Minister Drew. In fact, it has to be said because it is a matter of fact that in the 2022 elections, we campaigned with PAM and said that if we were successful, we would have elevated Sean Richards, who had earlier turned down the position of Prime Minister when he was offered it by us, that we would have elevated him to Prime Minister. Again, this was a demonstration that all that we were saying as division politicians, we need the Federation to work for Nevis as well. The people voted. Prime Minister Drew and his Labour Party won. I believe in large measure because people were fed up that unity had collapsed. And I recall at my first meeting with Prime Minister Drew, I did not know him well. I think I'd met him only once prior to that. We sat and we discussed ways that we would cooperate. And I always mentioned this publicly because he didn't have to do it. He said to me, "Are you aware, Premier, that some $6 or $7 million US comes to the office of the Prime Minister every year from a friendly government? Does Nevis get a share of that?" And I said, no. And even as Foreign Minister in the Cabinet, a senior member of the Unity Government, I was never aware that that was the case. Again, an example of how Harris hid things. I wasn't aware. It is Prime Minister Drew who made me aware. And he said to me, going forward, Nevis will get 25% of that. That money has allowed us to develop the venues here for Culture Armor 50. It allowed us to develop the MGR Park. It is now allowing us to purchase the lands that we need at the airport for the airport expansion. So that money has been put to very good use. I say that to say that I had no arrangement with him. I was not in any government with him. I did not support him. He won the government, 6 seats, formed the government, and then he extended those courtesies to Nevis. He didn't have to. The government that I supported and was a part of never extended those courtesies. Along the way, I said to him that we needed to solidify the arrangement in terms of the fair share. It took far too long, in my opinion, but eventually we agreed 25-75. St. Kitts gets 75%, Nevis gets 25%. Now, it has not benefited Nevis because, of course, the pie has shrunk. The CBI proceeds are now far less than they used to be. And so in terms of real numbers, Nevis is getting less than it used to get. But it also begs the question, if we're getting the 25% from way back when, Charleston Accord that was signed since 2013 or thereabouts, Nevis would have been able to benefit from hundreds of millions of dollars. That did not materialize. And so when we did the math, almost $6 billion came in. Nevis got 8% of that. Sinkits kept the rest. And so on balance, I would say that the relationship now is a good relationship, because the relationship now is not based on my political support or the political support of my party. It is based on mature leadership recognizing that Sinkits Nevis, if we're going to survive, we have to do more together. Geothermal is an example. National security is an example. I've run out of time, but I hope I've been able to give a fulsome answer. Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. Please, this show is rebroadcast tomorrow at 1 p.m. right here on Von Radio. And we urge you to listen twice if indeed you thought the show tonight was nice. That's our show. Good night. God bless and keep you. Have a wonderful evening. And with the grace of God, I look forward to being back with you next week, Wednesday, again from 8 to 10, right here in the Eastern Caribbean's only powerhouse, VON Radio. Thank you. Good night, and God bless you.
The views and opinions expressed on the preceding program were solely those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Nevis Broadcasting Company Limited or its